Otro jueves más con el Inside Star Citizen. En este caso se llama carguero colega, playmate, o compañero carguero. ¿Sí? Dentro asunto.
One of the big roles in both real-world life and in Star Citizen is cargo hauling.
Uno de los grandes roles en el mundo y en el Star Citizen es el transporte de carga.
We've got lots of different ships in the game, and plenty of them can carry cargo, but we don't have many that are small and dedicated to cargo.
Tenemos muchas naves que son dedicadas a cargo, pero no tenemos muchas naves pequeñas que son dedicadas a cargo, ¿no?
And this is where the Argo raft really comes into play.
Y aquí es donde entra el largo cargo, en el rollito, ¿no? De nave pequeñita dedicada a la carga.
So the Reinforced Advanced Freight Transport from Argo is a two-player cargo transport ship.
It's a very beginner sort of vessel. It's got limited cargo capacity, but it's designed purely for the purpose of trying to transport your goods from A to B, while keeping you as safe as possible.
The Argo
Bueno, dice que es dice con tripulación, es una nave para 2 tripulantes. Madre mía. Y la función que tiene es de transportar carga de A a B de la manera más segura posible.
style is a strong style. You kind of know what you're going to get, and I think that's what helps really sell the ship's feel.
Dice que además que con Argo sabes el estilo que hay, ¿no? Y ayuda mucho a vender la sensación del propósito de la nave.
The rear half of the ship is definitely very contrasting to the front. I feel like one of our designers put it best when they described it as essentially an oil rig with engines strapped onto the back of it.
The raft is primarily Argo's counter to the Freelancer.
Obviously, the Freelancers are far better equipped weapon-wise, but the Argo is far better in the armor capacity. It's not going to do well in a fight because its weaponry is quite small. It has a remote turret that the co-pilot controls that has size 3s on it, and it does have 2 size 1 slots that the pilot can equip something in, although it doesn't come with those weapons as standard. The ship.
Bueno, pues nos están diciendo de que es una competencia directa de la Freelancer, que viene... la Freelancer tiene más armas, pero por el otro lado, pues esta nave de Argo, el Raft, pues tiene más armadura. Viene con una torreta remota y el piloto viene con 2 armas de tamaño 1 que no vienen... O sea, 2 huecos de arma de tamaño 1 que no vienen equipadas a serie.
The ship itself can take up to 96 SCU and 3 32 SCU cargo containers that are held on the back of the ship.
A ver.
SCU and 3 take up to 96 SCU and 3 32 SCU cargo containers that are held on the back of the ship.
Vale, parece que son 32 unidades de carga por cada container que tiene aquí detrás, que hacen un total de 96.
So at the moment, the cargo containers are actually a fixed part of the ship until we actually get the cargo refactor, at which point you'll then be able to remove them. There are other.
Dice que de momento estos containers de carga son una parte fija de la nave hasta que consigan tener la tecnología de carga fiscalizada y todo esto, pero que luego seremos capaces de poder retirarlos de la nave.
Ships that are going to use external cargo like the Hull series, but the first one that'll actually go out into the universe will be the Raft.
Utiliza carga externa como la serie Hull, pero la primera nave en tener carga externa en el juego será la Raft.
It has dedicated Vtols that rotate to give it that extra lift, regardless of what the atmosphere is in the planet you're trying to take off from, it's going to be able to actually get out there even in the more heavy atmospheres.
El tema de los motores, que también viene dotada con motores rotativos, Vtol, para que no tengas que preocuparte de lo pesada que sea la atmósfera en la que estés.
It has independent landing gear, the legs, the typical Argo legs that give it that nice firm support regardless of the terrain that you're landing on.
Y también tiene ese landing gear característico de Argo que es independiente, es una pieza aparte, ¿no?, de la nave para poder aterrizar independientemente como sea el terreno.
As you go inside the ship, it's split into two primary areas, the functional side and the side for the crew. So the functional side consists of the bridge.
Dice que tiene dos zonas principales la nave, la zona de la tripulación y la zona de funcional. La zona funcional pues sería el puente.
The airlock, which has got ship-to-ship docking collar on it. Engineering. And then the cargo control cab that's at the rear of the ship that gives you a nice view out onto the 3 cargo containers.
Esto sería la zona de controlar la carga en la parte de atrás, que te da una buena vista para poder tomar control sobre los contenedores de carga.
The side for the crew consists of habitation, which has a nice chow line, a seating area for you and your teammate to relax, as well as individual beds that double function as an escape pod in times when you might need it.
Cosa interesante de esta nave es que dice que, bueno, que tenemos aquí la zona de avituallamiento de la tripulación para que puedas relajarte con tu colega y que además las camas también funcionan como cápsulas de escape.
As well as a fully fitted armory for 2 people that has 2 suit locker spaces for each of you.
Nos dice que tenemos 2 armarios por persona para poder guardar trajes del espacio aquí.
As well as weapon racks and, of course, a bathroom.
El baño y el rack de armadura.
I think
de
the
armas.
interior kind of was really successful in making sure that every space has a function. No matter where you're stood in the ship, it feels like a functional ship. It feels like the ship has purpose.
Dice, no importa al lugar que vayas a la nave, que el equipo ha hecho un buen trabajo, los interiores, cualquier parte de la nave se siente con funcionalidad, con utilidad.
If you think about the real world and how you want to transport goods, if you want to be in and out because that's your job, that's your profession, you don't want to have to open up your ship and let someone come on board and mess about. You just want to drop your actual goods and then move on to your next job, and that's something that the raft will allow you to do.
Claro, dice que si te vas a dedicar a la carga y a una tarea específica, no quieres bajar de tu nave, simplemente quieres depositar la carga y seguir haciendo tus historias sin tener que bajar de la nave. Y eso es algo que el Argo Raft te permite.
Reinforced armored freight transport from Argo is the latest straight-to-flyable vehicle that made its debut at this year's Intergalactic Aerospace Expo. And if you haven't seen it in action already, you can do so now by jumping into the persistent universe. But up next, another ship making its highly anticipated debut at this year's event, the Aries Starfighter from Crusader Industries.
A lot of times you need a ship for a very specific purpose. Ultimately, sometimes you just need a big ship with a big gun that goes. A ship with a big gun that goes. I don't think it even sounds like that anymore.
Está haciendo el sonido de la Desinferno, chavales.
The Aries Starfighter is the premier single-seat fighter designed to take on larger threats.
The first time I remember hearing about it was, this is, single-seater, size 7 guns, capital ship killer, and it was like, that's going to be fun. Because
Dice armas de tamaño 7, asesino de naves de tamaño capital, dice con tripulación es una nave de un solo asiento para atacar a grandes, o sea, para enfrentar a grandes amenazas.
it is a single seater, you really want it to be surrounded by your ship. And when one of the first things we do is any ship that kind of kicks off is make sure we're agreed and happy with our enter exit animations. We knew that we needed to have ladder access, and we needed to kind of make sure it will work from an animation point of view.
There are two variants of the ship, one with a ballistic gatling called the Inferno, and one with an energy cannon called the Ion. And these really cater to how you want to take down these larger ships. You have the ballistic gatling, which is capable of punching through shields and damaging items under the hull, and then you have the energy variant, which is designed to really attack shields and sort of melt things.
Claro, dice que tendríamos, bueno, que al ser una nave de un solo asiento querían fijarse en el detalle de que el piloto cuando se sentase se sintiese envuelto por la nave. Y una de las cosas en las que se fijaron fue en la forma de entrar a la nave, prestaron atención a eso. Tenemos dos versiones, la Aries Inferno, que sería una versión balística que pues permitiría pegar atravesando los escudos y dañar componentes que estén por debajo del casco. Y luego sería la versión láser, ¿no? Pues que permitiría pues que lo funde todo, ¿no?
On both versions, you get a different feel, but in your peripheral vision, out the kind of the right hand side of your cockpit, you've just got the massive barrel of the weapon. So there was a little bit of kind of like backwards and forwards, making sure the barrel length felt right, and making sure the animation speed and that sort of stuff all kind of like worked nicely together when you were sitting there as a pilot. Because when you unleash these things, it is a unique experience.
Dice que en ambas versiones tenemos la visión del cañón lateral, y cuando liberamos el poder de estas cosas, pues es una sensación única.
The gun itself is an integral part of the ship and cannot be swapped out, so that gives you that choice between those two variants of, do I want the ballistic one, which has higher DPS or damage per second but limited ammo, or do I go for the Ion with its energy cannon that essentially has infinite ammo but a lower damage per second?
Tenemos la opción de ir por la balística, tienen una alta cantidad de DPS, pero una munición limitada, de daño por segundo, ¿no? Pero una munición limitada, o ir por la versión de energía, el cañón de energía, que tiene munición infinita, pero menos daño que el balístico.
Energy version of the ship, we've got the additional cooling and all the kind of everything that the larger weapon needs, and then on the ballistic we've got the additional kind of ammo area and ammo storage area, so it really does require, yes, it's the same underlying chassis, but it really does, it is two separate versions depending on which weapon is your kind of weapon of choice. Visually, I think.
Claro, una de las cosas que comenta es que luego os tengo que enseñar una cosita de las Ares que me he fijado al detalle. Ya veremos después, pero lo que comenta es que la balística, primero que las armas son fijas y no se pueden cambiar, forman parte de la estructura de la nave. En esencia, las dos naves son la misma, pero con diferentes versiones. Y entonces tienen pequeños detalles, como el hecho de que la Ares Inferno tiene una caja de munición. Esto es algo que yo comenté en su momento, y es que creo que la Inferno cabe la posibilidad de que, ojalá sea así, de que pueda tener distintos tipos de munición. Y eso yo creo que le daría un poquito más de variedad, no lo sé. Ya veremos a ver si toman esa decisión o no. Habrá que verlo con el tiempo.
What the Aries Starfighter brings to the game is the sense of intimidation. There's few other ships that you're really going to be scared of that are much smaller than you in our game, and I think the Starfighter, if you see one of those, you kind of need to run.
It's going to be really interesting to see how the dynamic changes of the in-game events such as Xenothreat and Ninetales when players have something of this caliber on their side instead.
So what do we
Claro, dice que va a ser algo interesante el ver cómo cambia el gameplay del juego. Que son dos naves que su función pues es intimidar, ¿no? Bueno, de hecho dice que no va a haber ninguna nave que te intimide, excepto naves pequeñas. Naves pequeñas, hombre, si te pilla un Gladius y te pilla un Arrow, ya podéis andaros con ojo. Porque o sea, si el tipo es bueno, te da la merienda a cena.
learn about this week?
Y dice Juan Tripulación que tiene ganas de ver la Xenothreat con los jugadores con este tipo de calibre en sus manos, ¿no? De tamaño de arma.
We learned that the Freelancer has a new competitor in the recently introduced Argo raft. That there's no one way to say when it comes to building a spacecraft around a massive gun like the Aries Starfighter. And that superstar concept artist Gav Rothery sure does know how to create good-looking spaceships. He did it with the raft, he did it with the Aries, and he's got something special coming up on Mist Day, so be sure to come back next week and check that out. And don't forget the Intergalactic Aerospace Expo continues. There's a free flight going on, as well as new merchandise in the stores while supplies last. For Inside Star Citizen, I'm Jared Huckabee. We'll see you all next week.
Está comentando ahí el señor Discolando que Gavin Roddery, que ha sido el que ha hecho la Largo Raft, las Ares, y que también tiene algo preparado para el día de Misk. Interesante cómo trabaja el fulano. Y ahora nos toca ir al juego, ¿no? Digo yo. Vamos para allá. Te has perdido el inside, Riker. Que Chinarro me amenazó, tío. Chinarro me amenazó de que